Cryptocurrency issues on another side. The emergence of cryptocurrency and blockchain in recent years has provided companies as well as private investors many exciting opportunities to invest. However, these benefits often come with a generous slice of risk. Despite being around for a decade, cryptocurrency still operates in largely uncharted and international legal territory because many of the legal frameworks that are now tasked with regulating cryptocurrencies were written before things such as cryptocurrency existed. The global financial system is no doubt embracing the current transition from physical currency to almost virtual currencies through the medium of technology. This wave has ushered in the birth of cryptocurrencies. In the light of this outbreak, there has been a lot of positive and negative discourse on the value of cryptocurrencies to the Nigerian fiscal system. Investors have in their masses invested in cryptocurrencies, the most common being Bitcoins, all in a bid to recoup interests in the nearest future. But on the 5th of February 2021, the Central Bank of Nigeria released a letter addressed to the banks and other financial institutions, which stated that dealing in cryptocurrencies and facilitating payments for cryptocurrency exchanges are prohibited. The CBN further instructed all banks and other financial institutions to identify individuals or entities that transact in cryptocurrencies or operate cryptocurrency exchanges and close the account to such persons or entities. Well, not surprisingly, the letter elicited some concerns among the public, with many concerned about the potential negative effect it could have on the Nigerian growing cryptocurrency market and innovation in the fintech industry. Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to look at this issue and of course more, I have joining me is the president of the Stakeholders in Blockchain Technology Association of Nigeria, Mr. Senator Ihanye. Mr. Senator Ihanye, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
It's great to have you. I want to start this way because I've not been able to talk to you ever since. I got someone to actually speak on it immediately that letter was out on the 5th. How did it come to you with that directive from the central bank? Let's start on that note. How did it come? Prohibiting banks from cryptocurrency exchanges and all of that?
Well, that day, 5th February, was quite a shock to many of us, industry stakeholders in the crypto and blockchain space, and generally the fintech space. It wasn't something that we were expecting. And I'll tell you why. It is because if you go back to 2017, January specifically, when the Central Bank of Nigeria intervened for the first time in cryptocurrency adoption in the country, it did state that although cryptocurrencies were susceptible to fraud and they could be used for terrorism, financing and all of that, and so because of that, banks and other financial institutions should stay clear of it, which is very, very valid. But the CBN was quite wise, seeing that it was a space that was still evolving. The CBN must have been conscious of the need to protect that nascent industry by ensuring that it's not banned totally. So what the CBN did in the 2017 letter was to say banks and other financial institutions could go ahead to provide banking and financial services to persons or entities who were involved in cryptocurrencies, as long as these persons complied with anti-money laundering and know your customer policies.
Okay.
So that was CBN 3 years ago. That was CBN showing that it could see the potentials, the immense potentials of this technology, and appreciating the need to still take it easy, look at the space, see where it's going, and then come forward later on. And so for many of us in the industry, we were shocked because we felt that with all due respect, as though we understand where the CBN is coming from because of the risk and threats, we still believe that there could have been a better way of approaching it rather than that drastic approach.
We'll still talk about that better way to approach it. Africa as a continent, Nigeria belongs to that space, and we see that, I don't see that we're really doing very, very well. I think about the last check, 2%. Is that correct? Of the global share, a global trade. Now, this is my question. A lot of young Nigerians are actually interested in this, and I'm sure they are watching us as we sit here. What are the prospects of this sector?
The crypto space, especially in the last 4 years, has evolved fast with a lot of speed. And that's not because there were policy or regulatory support by any of the regulators or on the government's part. It was because there were industrious, innovative, enterprising young Nigerians who were genuinely interested in the blockchain technology and its various applications, especially cryptocurrencies. So when you look at the potentials of this industry, it's huge. I'll tell you why I would say that based on data. You know, if you look at, so if you listen to some of the cryptocurrency exchanges and show you the data regarding those who have been using their platforms. I mean, you're looking at on Paxful alone. Paxful is just one P2P, peer-to-peer platform where you could buy and sell cryptocurrencies. And it's saying that up to $588 million has been traded in the last 5 years on that platform alone, making Nigeria only second to the US. Now, there are several other platforms like Bitcoins, like Bondo, like Luno, like there are so many in the space. If you put all those numbers together, you see that there's a huge demand on cryptocurrencies. The issue is, are they being used? All of these transactions going on in the crypto space, are they really illegal or illicit transactions? Are these young Nigerians, which according to data by CoinMarketCap, it's saying that over 210% of youth adoption of crypto in Nigeria, 210% in the last 1 year. That's the highest in the world. The next country is Australia, which is just 150%. So what that is saying is Nigeria currently is #1 in Africa regarding crypto adoption. This is a huge, huge market. And so the potentials are huge. What we need in the space, right? The space needs some regulatory support. The space needs some policy support so that Nigeria can leverage on the adoption of cryptocurrency to grow the digital economy, which has been one of the focal goals of this administration. This administration has said over and over again that it wants to diversify the Nigerian economy. It wants to grow the digital economy. And it was on this basis, we, stakeholders in Blockchain Technology Association of Nigeria, we were identified as one of the stakeholders that should come to the round table. That's the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITSTA, with the support of the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, came on board to introduce what it's called National Blockchain Adoption Strategy. This is the proposed program of the federal government. And on that table, you have the Central Bank of Nigeria, you have the Securities and Exchange Commission, you have the National Deposit Insurance Commission, you have the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and you have others as well, including security agencies, on that table. Why? Because the federal government, in its wisdom, could see that this is a potential industry that Nigeria needs to quickly reposition itself and leverage it for economic growth. So what did he do? He identified all of the industry stakeholders, all of them, and tried to bring them to the table so that we have a uniform manner or policy. So we don't have policy conflicts as we do now, obviously. I mean, seeing that the Securities and Exchange Commission earlier in September 2020 recognized digital assets as innovative assets that should be regulated. And they said specifically that decentralized cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of them, they were going to be classified as commodities or securities where they are issued as investments. So this is where we were when the central bank introduced its latest restriction. And that's a shock to all of us, including government agencies.
On Friday, precisely, the vice president spoke about this. I see a smile already. And what's your reaction to his speech? Because he also talked about that this is the way to go, you know, if you look at what's happening internationally. How do you react to what Professor Yemi Osinbajo said?
It was great news. It was great news. To all of us in the industry, we were very happy with the position that the vice president has taken. we do not take it for granted that the vice president is the chairman of the National Economic Council,
Yep.
where the Central Bank of Nigeria is also, the governor of the central bank is also a member. We do not take it for granted that when the vice president of the country says that this is an innovative technology, and more so, the vice president did not just focus on cryptocurrencies. The vice president showed a fine understanding, a brilliant understanding of emerging technologies, from artificial intelligence to all of the other kinds of emerging technologies, including blockchain technology, and said that what the banking sector and the financial sector needs to do, rather than approach this with fear and panic and focus on threats and risk, why don't you also look at this technology as a way that you could become globally competitive? Because this is what it's all about. So we're very happy with the vice president's position, and we hope that all relevant stakeholders, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, would reconsider that and consider the need to have a regulatory approach that is much more innovative, much more risk-based, much more knowledge-driven than all of the panic that we are seeing in this space.
So I'll follow up with that, and I will say, do you also agree, or what are the risks that you see also involved in this, particularly as it affects national security and at this time?
That's a very brilliant question. And as industry stakeholders, we have also reviewed all of the risk and threats and all of it. And as Nigerians, and as people who want a better society for Nigeria, especially at this point where there's so much insecurity in the country, we're very concerned. And we've looked at it. Let's take some of the risk that the central bank has pointed out. First of all, the central bank did say that cryptocurrencies are used for money laundering and financing terrorism. And so because of that, they cannot allow this go on in Nigeria's financial system or banking system. We, of course, appreciate that. We also appreciate and acknowledge that the central bank, being the primary regulator in Nigeria's financial system, they must ensure that there's a sound financial system in the country. So we acknowledge that, and we are appreciative of all of the steps that the CBN has been taking to ensure that we have a safer country. On the other hand, when you look at money laundering and financing of terrorism, we had to look at the data. No fear and all of that. We had to look at that from a knowledge point of view. And let me tell you some of the things the data say. Now, there's a Chainalysis report. Chainalysis is a global chain analysis company. They look at how cryptocurrencies are being used globally, and they are able to give you intelligent reports about how they have been adopted. Now, Chainalysis reports in 2021 has stated or identified that money laundering and terrorism financing, generally, they are coming down. Now, I'll tell you this. In 2020, the crypto crime rates, the rates of use of cryptocurrencies for crimes fell to 0.34%. This is, now just listen to this, 0.34%. This means that of all of the cryptocurrency transactions in 2020, only 0.344% was traced to illicit activity or illegal transactions. That's one side. Secondly, when you look at what Governor Emefiele was saying about the use of cryptos because they are by unknown individuals, and the second letter by the CBN did say that cryptocurrencies are not traceable, and so you cannot easily catch anyone. But with all due respect, we've looked at that, and as industry stakeholders, we think that that is exactly the opposite. I'll tell you why. Bitcoin, which is the most adopted cryptocurrency in the world, including in Nigeria, it's a public blockchain. It's based on a public blockchain. What is a public blockchain? A blockchain is an open book, a ledger, a ledger with transactions, chain of transactions. you can trace all of the history of all the transactions on Bitcoin. It is not true that Bitcoin is anonymous, as we always say. It's not. Bitcoin is pseudonymous. Pseudonymous means that although you are able to hide your identity, you still are, your identity, your real identity, is still attached to the signature for every transaction. So you can be traced. Let's look at the FBI. In the FBI, where they are actually investigating cryptocurrency crimes and all of that in the US through the FBI. You remember Silk Road? Silk Road, the case that even the CBN referred to in its letter. Silk Road, Hubridge, who was the guy that led the Silk Road cryptocurrency fraud, he relied on Bitcoin and all of that. And guess what? The FBI traced it. And the FBI said something in its complaints in court. It said that although Bitcoins are used for illegal transactions, majority of transactions with the Bitcoin are legitimate transactions. So what that says is, rather than focusing on the negatives, we should actually look at some of the positives as well. I can tell you that cryptocurrencies are used in Nigeria predominantly for legitimate transactions, such as people want to buy something on Jumia, not on Jumia, on e-commerce platforms that accept cryptocurrencies. There are also those who use it for remittances. There are those who use it to take care of micro payments that you can use our fiat system for, all sorts of things. And there are, of course, those who trade in it as investment assets. So these are actually legal transactions. What we need to do is to reclassify. We need to classify virtual assets generally, especially cryptocurrencies, and then say that because these are virtual assets, this is how we will treat it under Nigeria's financial system. If we go ahead to maintain the position of the CBN, from all we have seen, will be achieving the direct opposite of what is intended. How? It will only succeed in driving crypto usage on the ground. On the ground is the P2P space, peer-to-peer space, where you don't need any bank, you don't need any financial intermediary. You just carry out your transactions on the ground. Now, if you do that, there'll be a whole lot of crimes going on in there. The consumer protection and investment safety that the CBN and the SEC is talking about disappears. It's impossible. By driving these guys on the ground, you also achieve something which is really bad. You are moving cryptocurrency adoption and usage farther from regulation. And when you do that, what you're doing at the end of the day, you're going to be creating a new space for criminal activities, such that you can't even monitor it. Right now, you can still see what's happening. Why? Because Luno, Binance, Bundle, Bitcoins, and all of these crypto exchanges, Quidax, they are all entities registered in Nigeria or somewhere in the US or UK. These guys are there for you. They have all of the, even though you say that you don't know Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of the Bitcoin, the issue or the truth is that many Nigerians who use, or most Nigerians who use Bitcoin, have accounts with Luno. Before you can open some of these accounts, you have to drop your BVN. Lately, they've started collecting NIN, your national identification number. So what are we talking about?
Very, very, very nice insight into this. Let's wrap up almost on this note. Any effect on the global market, and how has trading been ever since?
There's been some effects, really. On the global markets, quite insignificant, actually. Wow. Quite insignificant. But locally, we have seen the increasing use of peer-to-peer platforms. Oh, that's what you talked about? Yes. Without regulation and all Without regulation at all. We've seen the increasing use of peer-to-peer platforms. Well, in terms of negative effects, we're seeing a lot of burden on crypto exchanges. Guys I call the gateways to the crypto world. The crypto exchanges have been under a lot of burden in terms of running cost and all of that. Because all of these guys, both Nigerians and non-Nigerians that have accounts with them, use their platform. Many of them are leaving the platforms. Some of them are not even able to withdraw their money because of the CBN directive. I was in a program recently where some foreigners were actually making a case for that their monies were stuck in some of these crypto wallets because of the CBN circular. And they were begging that at least the CBN could give a window within which investors or members of the public can pull out their funds while the CBN comes up with something more substantial in the future, perhaps a regulation, as the Vice President has said or advised. So these are the things. And I tell you, the most painful part is that our indigenous innovators, people who are creating jobs in Nigeria through the use of cryptocurrencies, they are the worst hit right now. Many of them will eventually die. I mean, this has lasted the last three weeks. If it goes on for 1, 2, 3 weeks, I see a lot of our local indigenous innovators dying altogether. And this is just sending the wrong message to investors, people who are in the UK, in Canada, in Switzerland, who have expressed great interest in investing. Now, I'm talking about foreign direct investment here. They've seen all of the policy, conflicts in the space, and they are worried. What's going on? Why do Nigerian government say we should come to Nigeria because it has a better investment environment? And at the end of the day, such thing is done without even any notice to any stakeholders. I mean, it was a shock from the CBN because a lot of us did not see it coming. No one was told anything. As a matter of fact, even the letter of 5 February that the CBN dropped, it did not mention any reasons. It was after Nigerians locally and internationally reacted to that position that the CBN had to come out on a Sunday to say, okay, this is why we did this. No, so this is not really the best for Nigeria from an economic point of view, because it sends the wrong message to all of the investors that would come to the country. It's
a continuous conversation, Mr. Ihenia, and I'm sure we're still going to be talking about this and see what finally plays out. President of Stakeholders in Bitcoin Technology Association of Nigeria, Mr. Senator Ihenia. Thank you very much for joining us on Business Nigeria this afternoon. I appreciate it.